Hey everybody, what's happening? My name is Matt Taylor, and this is Black Sheep Off-Road Racing. We got a bunch of products that we're trying to get installed onto our new race car. We got one of our guys here who's running some SolidWorks, trying to get some stuff designed. We'll just run you around the shop. We'll show you what's going on here. So, got our new race car here that was initially built by Bent Fabrications down in Kentucky. Highly recommended. Tim Chiles does some pretty good work. Actually, not pretty good. Does really good work. I feel like we spent our money well going through him. So we've got the big Spider Trax axles. I get confused between the Pro and the Ultimate, but these are the big 4-inch chromoly tube axles. We got the dog here too. PSC ram. The big knuckles. These are just some unit bearings that Tim was kind enough to let us borrow, including some tires that we have sitting here until we get ourselves on the ground. But what we have here is we have a 410 cubic inch small block Ford, stroke 351. We'll do all of our own tuning and stuff like that on it. We built all the links, all chromoly, uniballs on the axle end, at least on the lowers, and then 1.25" heims everywhere else. We're going to redo some upper heims as well, try to make those a little bit more beefy in terms of the links. And then mated to our Ford engine is a 4L80E Chevrolet transmission. So we've got the Reed bell housing. You can see my son's been crawling around on top of it, but it was built. So then back here we have a Trailworthy Fab 3-speed Hero case. I don't exactly remember the ratios that we have in it, but we worked with some guys on figuring out exactly, the best ratios that would suit us and keep us from having to change gears and stuff like that out in the axles for different races and stuff like that. Back in the back, we've also got the big 4-inch Spider Trax chromoly housing with all the custom truss work done by Tim down at Bent Fabrication. And then we have trailing arms that we made here, we cut out, we designed. So everything turned out pretty good so far. Some of the other really cool stuff that we have going on. We have these big bad. They don't look quite as big now because they don't have the big springs on them. But these are the big coilovers from Rock Crawler Suspension that have the built-in adjustable compression and dampening. We have the spring sets sitting over somewhere else. We're trying to figure out what our upper link mounts are going to look like. So it's going to be sitting in here something like this. So that's about as far as we've gotten so far. Listening to Purdue on the radio. They're beating Iowa. It's awesome. I didn't expect that so far, but we got Bruno here. He's working on some SolidWorks. He hasn't done this in a couple years, so we'll see how he does.
It's been like 6.
Yeah. So anyway, we got a bunch of stuff going on here. Plasma table that still doesn't work. It's just collection for receipts and other garbage. So let's get into some good stuff here. So we have a bunch of products from primarily Canton on this table. I'm going to go through each one of them individually, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about them, show them to you, try to get you as close to touching them as I can through my phone, and then we will get the majority of these mounted on the vehicle and show you exactly how we're using them. So first things we have, I got one of them still wrapped up here, but we'll just go left to right. We've got some valve covers. we've been running Canton stuff, I guess, just to back up a little bit. We ran Canton stuff on our last race car, and we're really pleased with it. In fact, the oil pan that's still sitting on this and valve covers and stuff like that, these are all Canton. So some of the stuff we'll be going through is very similar to what we have on here. Other stuff is a little different, maybe fabbed aluminum versus cast and stuff like that, but the water neck, all that type of stuff, that's Canton. The oil pan that we have on there right now is Canton. But anyway, so sorry for the ADD. So we decided this time, we're like, well, let's try some fabbed aluminum valve covers from these guys. So that's what we got. They came in a nice big box, which I've since gotten rid of, but the part number is 65-300. They come all wrapped up really nice and in the foam and stuff to keep them shiny, which kind of funny because I'm just going to scratch them up. They come with all the hardware and everything that you need to install them. Something I like about the Canton products is they come with basically everything you need. Their fit, finish, all that type of stuff is second to none. Kind of moving along the table. Something we wanted to try different this year was using these, what they call it's their CM brand. So previously we've always just run a spin-on oil filter, transmission fluid filter, anything like that, fuel filter. And so this year what we wanted to do was we wanted to try out running something that could hold up to some higher pressures and stuff like that. You know, kind of the downside is that we can't just go to the parts store, pick up a filter and whatnot. But the nice thing is Canton sells these packs of 6, so we have everything we need. You know, this stuff will last us essentially a season, if not longer. So what we have are 8 micron. They have other micron rating filters as well. So everything, you know, from the finish of these, everything looks really nice. I haven't unbagged any of these, which I don't plan on until we actually run them. But you know, basically you know what you're getting here, as opposed to, you know, running to the AutoZone, getting yourself an STP or Pure Later or something like that. So all these are really easy to service. I'll run through some of that later. You just unscrew 4 bolts, and then you can pop your filter element out, put your new one in. So the way we're going to mount these, we'll show you here after a while, but we decided to use their billet clamps. I wanted to point out these billet clamps, at least for their filtration units, are the same ones that you use for the 1-quart Accusump. So the part number is 24-212. So we have a little bit of a selection of parts. We decided to, you know, do some AN stuff on a few of them and do some NPT on others. So I think this is a 12 AN. I think this is a half NPT, and I believe this is a half NPT. Could totally be wrong, but we'll find out. Then we have our coolant expansion tank. I really like these because one of the things you can do, instead of just running an overflow or something like that, this lets me run the expansion tank wherever I want to, and essentially it's pressure fed, so you don't have to worry about gravity or anything like that. So part number on that is 80-202. This is our 2-quart unit. This may be on the small side for me in terms of being large enough, but you just have your fitting on top, which is where you screw on your radiator cap, and then you have, at least this is the only port that we use, so the one on the bottom. Kind of jump along here. Oil pan. So trapdoor oil pan. This will be my 3rd Canton pan that I bought. I've run them, actually no, 4th. This is the 4th Canton oil pan that I've used. I've used them on 302s, 351s. It's all been Ford stuff, but I don't think it really matters. Whatever you are putting it on, it is going to be top-notch quality. So I've always been very, very happy with fit, finish, form, everything on these Canton pans. The trap doors, it's all real nice. You know, everything comes apart. If you got to get in there and do some work, we're actually going to have to modify this pan. So we'll see what it looks like when we get done with it. But you know, you have a drain for the large rear sump, and then you have a drain for the smaller front sump. So I think this is their road and track pan, and the part number on this is 15-694. So some of the other important stuff to run with this thing is you have a special pickup that you have to run. For us, that's a 15-695. The other thing is, and we actually won't use this on this engine, we're going to use this on something else. What we run is a DSS short block that's got its own main girdle support system. So ours we have to do some extra modifications to make stuff fit, which I can direct you to on another video. But you know, one of the important things that you have to run if you're running this on a standard 2-bolt, even if you're running it with a girdle, you'd still need this, but you need the stud here so you can thread on the lower bolt, the lower support bolt. So let's see what else we have here. We have our oil filter adapter, pretty standard thing. I like the Canton stuff, so that's what we're going to run. The part number on this adapter, this is a Ford Mopar 90-degree adapter, is 22-595. And then moving along in the oiling system, I guess I should have pointed this out earlier, but we have our pan gasket. We always run a single piece rubber over molded gasket. They just always seem to seal up better for us. So they already have your compression limiters built into them, and then they have your nice beads in between, so you always get a good nice seal. You don't have to worry about putting a lot of RTV in places and worrying about if you have enough or not. So you can get pretty much everything you need there. In the past, we've tried a 3-quart Accusump, and that ends up being, at least for us, pretty big in our race car, and we struggle to find a place to put it. So just to give you a size reference, there's my hand. This gives us a little bit more flexibility in terms of where we mount it. Again, we're using our billet clamps. They tell you where to mount them with these indicators here. We may or may not have made a little boo-boo on the bracket we made up in terms of where we're going to mount that, but that's neither here nor there. So the part number on the Accusump we're using is 24-026, and the billet clamps for this, I want to point out, when you get to the 2-quart Accusump or the 3-quart Accusump, it's a larger case, so they require different clamps. So that is 24-210, different from the billet clamps that you'll see here, which I think you can tell are smaller, the 24-212s. With that, what we are going to do is, previously we tried running it before, you know, just letting it basically act as a big reservoir that would catch fluid and release it as you'd be driving. And what we're really trying to do this year is be a little bit more intelligent with how we're running the system. So we got this 24-270, the electric valve kit, and what we're going to do, our plan is that we're going to run this with some logic built into the Megasquirt, the MS3 Pro. This is our old one. This one's actually going on our Bronco over here, and we're going to be running the new Ultimate MS3 Pro on the race car this year. But the logic's still the same. We'll just set it up so that when you key on, it'll open the valve, pre-lubricate everything, make sure that everything has oil to it that needs it as you fire that thing up. And then what we'll do is we'll let it build up pressure, and once it gets to a predetermined pressure, we'll let this valve close off. And then after that, we'll set up another logic condition that lets us open up the valve if we get below a certain pressure threshold. So should be pretty simple and straightforward. Canton does make a lot of other products or a lot of other valves that have that logic built into it. but we're trying to be cleaner, trying to utilize things that we have, and tools that we already have at our disposal to do all that for us. So anyway, that is the plan. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna start installing some of this stuff. I just stepped on the dog. That's all right. They make more every day. So gonna go ahead and start installing some of this stuff, and then we'll come back through, and as we're installing each one individually, I'll kind of go through some more information. All right, to speed this along, what I did was I only took apart one side of the clamp, so I left this one on. I'm just going to show you real quick. So, like I said, all the Canton stuff always comes with all the hardware you need, and everything I've always seen has been stainless. So, got these nice socket head stainless steel cap screws. They're billet clamp, so these two are recessed, and they'll be the ones that we use to mount everything with. So I'll go ahead and I'll put this together, and then I'll show you where we're mounting it on the vehicle. Okay, so we have our Accusump mounted. So for us, we're going to mount it in the upper left-hand corner of just in front of the A-pillar. We're trying to keep everything on the driver's side relative to oil. So we have our filter adapter, and you can see we're pretty tight down here, and we're going to have larger upper links in here anyway, so it's going to get even tighter. But we're trying to keep everything mounted such that all the oiling system, including the cooler and all that stuff, we keep on the driver's side, minimize our hose lengths and all that type of stuff. So the reason that we had to put the clamp in not the optimal position, the position that Canton lists on their product, is because we just didn't have the clearance back here for the clamp. So we mounted it just a little bit forward, and then we had to make sure that we had enough space up here. It's all pretty tight. We have our power steering reservoir and filter right here as well. So it's all pretty tight, but we're trying to position everything the best we can. We got a fresh, clean chassis, so we can air it up from right back here, which you really shouldn't ever need to do after you pressurize it the first time. And then our fittings will just have a 90-degree that comes out here, and then we'll tie it into the rest of our system. All right, let's take a look at these filters. So we have a couple different filters, and we have all the same clamps that go on them. So we have this tall filter in the front, the 25-100B, and then we have the two others, the smaller ones, which are the 25-006B and -000B. So this larger one, this is going to be our oil filter, and the two smaller ones, one's going to be for transmission and the other one's going to be for fuel. So I went ahead just so we can take a look at the filter system. It's really easy to change these filters out. You have these four socket head cap screws, these Allen screws that sit up at the top. You undo them, filter comes out, you pull that thing off there, everything's sealed up with O-rings, very nice, sealed up in the bottom with O-rings, very nice. So that's essentially how you change your filter. Very clean, very easy. No fighting anything to unscrew stuff or having to use an oil filter wrench. So we'll go ahead, see if we can get these things mounted up and see what they look like. So we have the oil filter housing and everything mounted, at least with the lower mount. One of the things I was going to point out is what we're going to do is we're going to utilize this billet clamp as an upper mount, and then I've made brackets that attach to and follow the same shape as the lower portion of the mount. So we're using the 4 Allen head cap screws on the bottom to give it some extra rigidity. And so then what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and unscrew all of these. I just had everything together when I was tack welding it and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add some additional weld to it. And then we're going to mount this dual filter housing bracket, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so we took a break from working on the buggy a little bit last night to work on the Bruno's Z. Need a little bit of attention here before winter. So anyway, we did that. We got some other stuff mounted. Right now we're working on some valve covers, but I thought I would show you where we finished up last night. We got our brackets mounted with our filters for the fuel. So our fuel cell is going to be right back in this area. So we'll just be able to pull the fuel, filter it, and then send it right up, of course, to the engine. And then transmission filter. Both of our transmission coolers will be back in this region up here on the inside. So we got everything mounted here. It'll be nice and rigid. We just got tacked in right now. But anyway, these will be really easy to change the filters in. So just pop the caps off, drop a new filter in. Bruno's working on our shock mounts, rear shock mounts for the new rock crawler 3¼ inch bypass coilovers. So yeah, like I said, what we're working on right now are the valve covers. So let's go over and take a look at those. I don't even know if they're going to fit. We're going to find out. But there's a Trick Flow R series intake on a 351. So theoretically, it should be the same if you're working on a 50 or anything else. So we're going to see if these fabbed covers fit with everything. We ran the cast covers in the past, and they've worked out very, very well. We've done some modifications to them and such. But what we're going to find out is if that height difference will fit. We've run into the past where our rockers end up contacting some stuff on the inside of here, and we've had to go in and make a few modifications. So, I think probably 95% of the applications, these fit, and they fit well. Like they fit in our old Bronco with an Explorer front belt drive on the 50, and that's pretty cool because you don't find a lot that fit with the belt drive because it's so smashed in there. So, anyway, we're gonna go ahead and pop these in and see if they fit. Just do a little comparison here. So we got the driver's side put on, just the bolts are run down, no gasket on or anything like that. We have Canton's cast version on the passenger side, their fabbed version on the right hand side. So this is the Trick Flow intake. You can see we got a solid, I'd say ½ inch of clearance here under the upper intake manifold. So it's if you can clear that with your valve covers, that's your typical problem. So this will let us run high ratio rockers, whatever we want, not have any problems, and they look pretty dang cool. So they look really good. So we'll go ahead and toss on the passenger side, and then we'll have that done. All right, so we just got the driver's side installed too. So this is with the Trick Flow R series upper and lower intakes on 351. We have this is an Accusump. I think it's 100 millimeter throttle body on here. So, everything clears. We have space for the idle air control valve here, assuming that's where we'd position it, which I doubt we'll position it there. So, worst case, everything clears. So, all in all, these Canton covers look very, very nice. Bolted up fine, hand threaded everything in. Everything lines up really nice on the front as well. So take a look at it from the front. Gives it a nice finished look, even though it's on an old dirty engine. Anyway, so there you go. Very happy. They're going to work really well. Nice and light. They look good. So highly recommend. we're just messing around with the new water pump that we're going to run. So in the past we've run flow cooler, other stuff, whatever we can get our hands on. It says it's high flow. We've tried electric water pumps. We've tried electric and mechanical in parallel and all sorts of stuff, and never really have been able to get it to work super well. So we're trying something a little different this year. We did a bunch of research. We're going with this EMP Stewart. It's their, I think it's like their Pro Series cartridge. So what it does is it uses a cartridge, and then that cartridge runs inside on a conical volute, and CNC vanes and everything like that. So everything we've read, everything we've talked to, this is you know, the highest flowing pump that we can find out there for the Ford engine, at least from a mechanical standpoint. So we're gonna see how it works. We're gonna have to do some custom pulleys, try to figure out you know, what speed that we ultimately need to be at. So that may be a little bit of a challenge, trying to meet the speeds of the Ultra 4 stuff between the rocks and the high speed. You know, making sure we got enough flow down at the low RPMs, but making sure we're not cavitating up at high RPMs. So anyway, I don't know, tread your own path. So we got some work to do. Even with the spacers that we were given, the pump doesn't line up exactly. So probably gonna have to make a custom timing chain housing, or modify this one substantially. So anyway, stay tuned. We'll keep on knocking stuff out.